the Ottoman Empire was taken over by a new government. The new rulers wanted to get rid of wrong and lawless ideas. Furthermore, they also wanted to protect national security. In February of 1915, Turkey's political leaders made a detailed plan to get rid of the Armenian Christian minority. To avoid any conflict, the Turkish government lied about their intentions. The genocide occurred during World War I between the years 1915 through 1918. A large number of Armenians were massacred throughout the Ottoman Empire. Men were drafted to the Turkish army. Thousands of these Armenian soldiers were sent to labor camps, where they worked to death, starved, and murdered. The Turkish government also confiscated all the weapons from Armenian civilians. The Armenians were forced to move to remote camps and were allowed to bring only what they could carry. They were forced to walk in rough, dry terrain and in the desert during the summer. The weak were left to die or killed. Women and children were abducted and abused. The survivors were also killed at the end. About 1.5 million Armenians were killed. Many considered it to be the largest genocide in the world's history.
The first Armenian migration to the United States was in 1878. Armenians came to America because they were targeted by Turkish nationalists. Armenian immigrants were pushed into the U.S. due to religious persecution and because they wanted freedom of religion, thus referring to the push-pull theory. Armenia was a Christian nation from the very beginning. Under the Ottoman Turkish rule, the Armenian Christians were treated as infidels and violently targeted by Turkish nationalism. Many Turkish Armenians were massacred during the outbreaks of 1894 through 1895. After these tragic outbreaks, the Turkish government supported a government-sponsored genocide that killed more than 1 million Armenians during World War I. This caused a massive Armenian migration to the United States. The first wave of Armenians to the United States moved to Boston and New York. Most of the Armenians joined their relatives and friends who had arrived earlier. Many worked in New England factories, but others started small businesses. Because of their business skills, Armenians succeeded in the import-export firms. They dominated the lucrative Oriental carpet business. Many Armenians moved to Southern California to farm in the San Joaquin Valley of Fresno. Many Armenian immigrants easily adjusted to the American economic and social values. They became wealthy business people and powerful community leaders.
Upon landing in America, the daring young men and women who had immigrated to the United States knew nothing of America except for what they had heard from fellow countrymen. Few had any guarantee of employment, mainly because they could not speak English. As a result, they made initial contacts with friends and relatives as they joined to create a community. They needed each other in this new land. New industries like shoe factories, rubber companies, and metalworking plants attracted hundreds of Armenians and became heavens for new arrivals. Tasks themselves were often boring and repetitive. Many reported feeling like extensions of the quick-moving, active machines they operated. However, a lifetime of adversity and the need for money to send to loved ones overseas gave Armenians both the ability and cause to work extremely hard. The ways of the New World, such as unchaperoned dating, mystified the first-generation Armenians as parents reacted quickly to signs of assimilation. Women played vital roles in transmitting the culture to the next generation and in administrating church affairs, religious, and language schools. For years, the Armenians have had to deal with numerous stereotypes, such as being called a yellow race. For the past 75 years, Armenians everywhere have had to cope with the prevailing stereotype of Armenians as Turk haters. Another form of prejudice Armenians faced was the rug merchant stereotype, based on their domination of the Oriental carpet industry. Prejudice has led many immigrants to shorten or change their names. Carnegie Almasian became Carl Civis. Nativism, a belief that only members of the old stock of America could be genuine citizens, endangered the efforts of Armenians to achieve naturalized status. In 1909, according to an official of the Bureau of Naturalization, Armenians belonged to the yellow race, and as such were ineligible for citizenship. Armenians have retained their cultural identity despite the numerous hardships they have endured as a result of assimilation in a foreign country.
In present day, the Armenian American population has dispersed mostly throughout California, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. The Armenian immigrants began to move to the busy cities around 1930, with Los Angeles being the most populated, according to the 2000 U.S. Census. Little Armenia is the center of the Armenian residents currently living in LA. Its name comes from the large number of stores and businesses that had already opened around that neighborhood by the early 1970s. Little Armenia is located in the district of Hollywood, also known as East LA. Hollywood is home to the famous Cher, who is half Armenian and a successful singer and actress. Robert Kardashian also raised a family to thrive in Hollywood, as he himself was an infamous lawyer and successful businessman. The rest of his family produces and stars in a famous reality show. Armenian Americans haven't had all glory, though. The September 11th attacks brought new stereotypes of terrorists and murderers to the Armenians. Such drama and hatred was the cause for many attacks. More than 10 years after that obstacle, we now see the effects of a triumphant migration. The American and Armenian flag can now wave freely together.